The heart-wrenching trial has been going on in the case of Harmony Montgomery, and the stuff and the information coming out on the stands is absolutely explosive, and we're going to specifically talk about the opening statements in today's video. Hello Sofa Squad and welcome back to the sofa. Sofa's back there. Our mascot's in my arms because he just woke up. My name's Paul. I'm sitting in front of the sofa. Now, like you heard in the little opening, today we're going to be reviewing the opening statements of the Adam Montgomery trial that's currently going on right now. Momentarily, I'll give you a very quick couple of bullet points from a People magazine article to let you know how we arrived at this video, the nuts and bolts of the case. Just know that this is one of those videos that's not for the faint of heart. I will try and be careful with the information we talk about, trigger warning wise and whatnot, because it's very, very difficult. It's very heartbreaking what they did to this little girl. It's otherworldly, to be quite honest. So just know this might not be the video for you, but also know I will take discretion and kind of be gentle around some of the more graphic things. We might not go into exact detail of those, but know that you can go to Law and Crime or Court TV if you want to watch it in its full entirety. And again, today is February 12th, so this has been going on for about like a week. So just know that by the time you watch this, maybe they've wrapped it up or whatever. So this is kind of one of those like I watched it so you didn't have to kind of vibes. So that being said, before we jump into it, if you do want to follow Roscoe and I outside of YouTube, but not like stalkerish or something, go on to the old Insta, to the old Grams, to the Instagram. It's on the TV screen. It's in the description. We hang out over there. We just do things with filters and food and dogs and sunsets. Okay, it is what it is. Now let's go ahead and talk very quickly about a couple of overviews as to how we arrived at this video. We're going to do that by looking at a couple of screenshots that I'll put up on the screen here. Now, first you can see this is an article from People magazine, and it says Harmony Montgomery was reported missing by her biological mother, Crystal Soray, almost 2 years after she disappeared in 2019. Harmony's father, who has been charged with M in connection with her death, he went ahead and pled guilty to abuse of a corpse and falsifying evidence. Harmony's remains have never been found. Her stepmother, Harmony's stepmother, Kayla Montgomery, who pleaded guilty to charges that she lied to law enforcement to hinder their M investigation, is serving an 18-month prison sentence. Now, Kayla does take the stand, and I'll be working on that video separately because it's very hard to get through her testimony. She's up there for hours, and the stuff she describes is, I can't get you there. It's terrible. But I'll be working on that one next. So just know this is kind of the overview of what took place. Obviously, there's a lot more to Harmony than that. We will discuss some of those things. What the state has to say to her when he reminds everybody of who this little girl was, besides just being a victim to her horrible, horrible father and stepmother. So that being said, let's look over a quick update that took place when the trial started, and then we'll get into some of the footage. So this is that same article from People magazine, and it says Harmony Montgomery's father admits guilt on 2 counts but points finger at slain 5-year-old stepmom. Now those were the 2 counts we just talked about, and obviously spoiler alert, this is going to be what the defense cites and goes over in his defense. This is one of those cases where a lot of the evidence you're like, what are you going to say? What are you going to say? So this right here, in that sense, even though it doesn't make sense, it's a logical defense for him to try and take. Though at this time, he has not been found guilty or anything yet. I don't think it's going to work, but we'll see. So with that being said, let's actually look at the defense's opening statements first.
But Adam Montgomery did not kill Harmony. Adam Montgomery did not beat Harmony in the head as he approached the Burger King drive-thru. Adam Montgomery did not cause Harmony's death.
Honestly, y'all, I forgot to say, you're going to need it for this one. When I was watching this and he said that, I was over here like, what? Now again, I've had time to think through this since then, you know what I'm saying? Because I was like, okay, this makes logical sense for someone in his position to try and blame somebody else for it, right? Now I'm not saying I agree with that or I stand behind it or anything like that, but when I thought about it, I was like, okay, I can see where the defense is coming up with this. Please hold. Simply because there's really nothing else you can say, right? I mean, it's just, she's testifying against him, and by she I mean Kayla. And she's going to get there, and I'm talking turn state's evidence. Now, what will be of interest as we look through this, the lens to look through, is nobody's sitting here trying to say that she is this great person either, right? I mean, she kept the secret and whatnot. So just know that. So there is the motivation when the defense outlines it of, well, she had this motivation and she could have done this and he tried to protect her. However, I will say this, and we'll get into it in a minute, but he does not strike me is the type of man that would take the fall for something like this and be like, well, I know she died under your care, but I'll take the L on this, babe. I'm like, no. Absolutely not. Especially with the evidence that has come out on the stand of family members that seen the abuse that was going on, right? So anyways, it's very hard for me not to go off on this one because it's so heinous, but I'll try to reel it in as we get through and just get through the story part of it so that we can talk later. That being said, let's get to the next clip.
Kayla Montgomery was the last person to see Harmony alive and know how Harmony died. But she didn't come clean with Adam. She didn't come clean with the police, and she will not come clean with you.
Now, the defense will say that even though she has this sweet deal, she's turned state's evidence, is that she still continues to lie. She still continues to throw Adam under the bus. The defense is going to go on to say that she's lying about this being so brutal in order to hide the fact that Adam was trying to protect her, Kayla. Now, the defense will say that no, Adam is not totally innocent. They're going to fess up to these charges and whatnot that he copped to. He admits that yes, both Kayla and Adam covered up Harmony's death and moved the body from place to place to keep it hidden, and that he and Kayla put her body in a shower to wash off decomposition. And the defense says that yes, you should find him guilty of these crimes, but he also set himself up to be betrayed by Kayla. Now, what evidence are they going to bring on to present this? Well, let's see.
The evidence that will show you that Adam did not brutally murder Harmony will come mostly, and very reluctantly, from his accuser, Kayla.
Now, he's going to say that she and the toddler and Adam are the only ones that know what happened, and only she knows really what happened. The defense will outline the story, and they will say that the day before Thanksgiving, Kayla, Adam, Harmony, their toddler son and infant son, they're evicted. And while Adam is like running around trying to get money, do his things, get a fix, all this stuff, Kayla is cooped up in the car with all these kids. They are trapped. It's claustrophobic. Their world is coming to an end, basically. He will say that Kayla didn't do well in this situation, and then he will say that her body wasn't like discovered in this whole situation at this intersection like Kayla claims happened.
Both Adam and Kayla discovered Harmony's cold, lifeless body much earlier.
Now, instead, the defense will say that they discovered it in the dark of night when Adam returned back that evening, and that he says Kayla will blame him, and she says that she basically doesn't know what happened.
It was not her fault, she insisted. She thought all the kids were asleep. He had to protect her. He had to protect their children. If anyone found out, their children would be taken.
I mean, honestly, all of a sudden, this is a man that cares about this stuff, right? He would throw her under the damn bus. The only reason he's not throwing her under the bus is because he probably is the one who obviously did what they said, and she's able to throw him under. But again, just from the little bit that we've watched, you can see the logical steps on the defense and his side of, she was the last one there. Nobody knows but them. She's testifying against you. She has motivation. We're going to say she did it. You know, it just makes sense, right? Even though it doesn't make sense. Now, this is when they decide to cover up the death. And this is where both Adam and Kayla make these very bad decisions, starting with having no idea what to do. Okay, so they hide her body in the trunk, and this begins the process of moving poor little Harmony's body from place to place while they tried to figure out what to do with the body, like what to do in this situation. Now, when asked, they would say that she moved back in with her biological mother. So 2 years later, Kayla and Adam, they've separated, no justice for Harmony. They've been able to evade the questions as to where she's at and whatnot. And police start snooping around, and Kayla will eventually talk to police, but she will stick to this lie, right? It takes her a minute. And that they initially told, which was Adam took Harmony to her mother's, and that's all she knew. So she started kind of carving the path for, look, all I know is he took her to the mother's, and that's all I know. I don't know anything else after that.
5 days later, January 5th, Kayla was arrested anyway, but for something different than what the police had wanted to talk with her about. Instead of being arrested in relation to Harmony's disappearance, she was arrested for something else, what eventually became a theft charge.
Now, the defense will continue on with this, and he'll say that she knows that these charges, they're to put pressure on her. So she's sitting in jail, she's plotting away, like, how do I get out of this? How do I get out? What do I do? And she knows the police want information on what happened to Harmony. So the defense will say that this is where she figures out a way to use Adam to get out of the mess. The defense also says that a note was found in her cell that spoke to her wanting to betray Adam, but it also was talking about like wanting to be with him one more time and this kind of thing, and then also talking about like what she wanted, like full immunity, the whole 9 yards.
Any corroboration for the lie itself? Kayla intermingled some of the truth of how she and Adam covered up Harmony's death.
So then what is her new version? What is the story that's going to get her out of all this mess according to the defense?
Her new story was that it was the middle of the night, 2 or 3 a.m. Harmony had been having trouble controlling her bodily functions while the family had been living out of the car, and Harmony went to the bathroom again. Adam responded by repeatedly punching Harmony, probably like 10 to 15 times.
Y'all, this part, okay, so this is trigger warning. This is where it gets really bad. And so we heard there what took place. And, you know, when I hear this part of it, I think of little Harmony in that back seat and what she had gone through. And we're going to hear from the state in a moment how she kind of defied all odds as a child living be where she was at. The tumultuous 5 years that she had here. And she was having these bowel problems. She was having these bladder problems. She couldn't, you know, she was using the bathroom on herself, and they're living in the backseat of the car. Obviously, it's going to suck if your kids going on themselves in the back of the car. I get it, okay? But to think of the fear that she had where she didn't want to say she had to go to the bathroom because she probably would have had the same outcome. Adam was just a monster, right? The adults in the situation were more concerned with drugs and this kind of a thing. And so to think of the fear that she had, and then to think of her in that back seat and going to the bathroom again, he figures it out and just goes off on her. I mean, oh my God, that poor little thing. What a horrible experience here on earth. You know, when you sit here and think about however old you are right now, like I'm 46, I think of all the life that I've lived and how much more could happen, God willing. You know, you live to be whatever, live out your natural life, right? Think about, I don't even know if I have memory to 5 years old. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, imagine that's where your life stops. But not only that, it's you're tossed around, you're evicted, and at the hands of your father who just got you back custody-wise, and you do one little thing wrong, and he beats you severely like this. This is the way you go out. I cannot imagine the last things going through her mind. Now, the defense will say that this news story changed, right, numerous times. First of all, he did this during the morning when they were on the way to the clinic to get methadone. Then she'll say he hit her again once he came out of the clinic. Then she'll say they went to Burger King, and on the way there, he punches her again, and then gets the food, drives back, parks, and basically is sitting there, you know, eating food while Harmony is slowly dying in the back seat. Now, just the little bit that I have seen of Kayla testifying, and again, sadly, only Kayla and Adam know what truly happened. You know, obviously Harmony, who's no longer here, right? The other 2 children are too small to know what was going on and whatnot. They are the only ones that know. So, you know, between the 2 of them is somewhere is the truth. However, watching Kayla describe this, it makes sense in the way of talking about this elongated beating that took place over the day. You know what I'm saying? And ending in this where he just lost it. It was like, it was the camel that broke the straw's back, or however that saying goes. I tend to believe her story in this, which, trust me, I don't want to, because it's so horrible. Now, one thing that was very interesting that he brought up, the defense, is he'll say that she never describes any reaction to Harmony acting like this, or trying to hide this from the Burger King drive-thru, or any of these little nuances that one would expect to hear. And so when he brought this up, I was like, very interesting, because that is a good point, right? Like when in these descriptions that she does. However, once you get to her on the stand, you know, it's a little bit different. Like I said, somewhere in the middle is the truth. You know, if Kayla is hiding the fact that maybe she participated in some of that, you know, again, only her and Adam will ever know.
She does not describe Harmony as she feeds piece by piece through to Seamus, who is next to her in the back seat of the car.
Now, he will go on to say that Kayla said they cleaned up blood from the back seat, but that when the car was tested later on, now this is a couple of years obviously, that no such evidence was ever found. Another thing that Kayla would testify on the stand about, and again, this isn't about her testimony, we'll do a separate video on that, is describing like at one point, and I think even the state will say it, where she puts her arm up or does some bare minimum to try and protect him, but to protect Harmony. But she's basically saying, I was afraid I was going to get the beating, you know, kind of a thing if I got in between. Which, I mean, you know, Harmony was a little 5-year-old girl. He was a great... You've seen Adam, if you've watched this, or follow the case, okay? He's a big man, right? Very strong. That's what just shocks me to my core when you hear about these cases, and you see the guy, oftentimes the guy, but not all the time, sometimes it can be a female too, but any adult for that matter, but especially a grown man, where they're striking a child without force, because they're just a little frail child, right? So a grown man punch against Harmony, I can't imagine, but then multiple times, oh my God, right? I mean, no wonder she succumbed to these injuries. So, that being said, let's listen to what the state has to say now and go over some of the clips from that and whatnot.
And what this case is all about. It's about a man who, for 2 years, evaded apprehension, didn't have to answer for his crimes, had no appreciation or concern about Harmony being missing, because he already knew she was dead.
Now, the state will also say that while everyone was out looking for Harmony, there was one person that was not looking, and you guess who it is? Adam. They will say that he was the only person in this world that knows where her body is and was hoping that it would never be found. The prosecutor will say that Adam felt like if he could destroy the evidence, if he could destroy Harmony, that he would never be charged. Now, the state will say that they did make mistakes, Kayla, Adam, along the way. He'll say that yes, he did beat her to death over a bathroom accident and a series of attacks that began that morning in the car and ended in the Burger King parking lot. He will say how he carried the body around for months and then finally disposed of the body. And he will say that then he continued to beat and terrorize Kayla after this, as she was the only witness.
The Manchester Police Department initiated their search for Harmony Montgomery. That man got away with her. His only concern, other than Harmony's body being found, was to keep his wife, Kayla Montgomery, from coming in here and telling you all what he did to her. His heinous actions, his cover-up, what she witnessed. For 2 years, he got away with butchering a 5-year-old girl. And that defendant made sure that Harmony would never be found, that she'd be gone without a trace. You'll see, he believed that if there was no body, there could be no evidence of the horrible things that he did to her, and he would get away with it. And so he went to great lengths to cover up his crime for a bathroom accident. He went to great lengths to cover up his conduct because she soiled herself. And he thought that if he destroyed the evidence, what remained of Harmony, if he destroyed Harmony, he could never be charged.
Now, the state will go on to show a sample of the bag that was used to stuff Harmony in, and this is what he would fill with lime to facilitate the decomposition. Now, they'll also show pictures of the injuries that Adam inflicted on Kayla. And the state will go into who exactly Harmony was, which I like that they did this in the beginning of the trial, obviously. And they'll say that, you know what, she was a daughter, a sister, a Minnie Mouse fan who loved being a big sister and was only 5 years old when her life was stolen. She was fun-loving. She defied all odds. Most of her life was spent with her foster parents. When they first got custody of her at 2 months, they were told that she wouldn't live past 7 months old, that she had all these learning disabilities. And when she lived with her foster parents and biomom, that she was thriving. But then Adam got custody of her when she was only 4 years old. Now, the state will also go over a timeline of her tragic life. So here you can look at this little picture here, a timeline of defendant's conduct. So first, we have the assault on Harmony, July 2019. Now, there are a couple of different separate charges in here. One of the people that would get up there is Adam's uncle, I believe it is, who was living in the house with the grandmother and Adam and Kayla and them, and was witness to some of this stuff. We'll talk about it in a second. So number 2, the M of Harmony, December 7th, 2019. Number 3, compressing Harmony, December 7th through March 3rd, 2020. 4, disposing of Harmony, March 3rd to 4th, 2020. So you see this little timeline of stuff. As it goes on more, and especially once Kayla takes the stand and goes over how much time and energy and thought was put into hiding her body and where they hid it, how either of them could sleep one wink knowing what happened, and then that little Harmony's body was always stuffed in something over the ceiling in somewhere right around them, it will forever chill me to my bone. Now, remember how I said that they were living in that house with the uncle and all that? Okay, so at first they were living in the grandmother's house with the uncle. So the grandmother has to go to Florida for some kind of surgery or procedure or something, and the uncle goes to look after her. Well, when they left, Harmony was apparently fine, right? So they get home and they see that she has like all these bruises. Like, it's clear something bad has gone on. And basically the uncle's like asking like, what's up? And Adam's basically like, I bashed her around the house. And so the uncle is like, this what? And so he's very frightened. He leaves the next day and he says that he will try to get Harmony help. And the state's outlining all this information. We're still talking about the state, not his specific testimony yet. But the state's like, look, he contacted every agency you can think of to contact. He did. He tried to reach out for help, but none of it worked. Now, the state will also talk about all the changes that Harmony had from living into the house, living in the car, having issues with the bowel, the bladder, all that stuff. And the state's going to also outline how on the day that he took her life, that morning, she had been having these accidents. And they're out kind of running around doing their stuff, going to the methadone clinic, doing whatever. And when he came out of the methadone clinic and they're headed to Burger King, he basically could smell that she had another accident. And it set him off into this rage, okay? And they will describe this brutal attack that is something literally you only see from the sounds of it that takes place between two grown men in like a fight cage on TV, okay? But he is inflicting this on his 5-year-old daughter in the backseat. And that's not where the horror of this case stops. He stuffs her into that bag that we showed earlier. And then this was the beginning of literally, to me, horror movie stuff. He carries her around for months while he tries to figure out what he did with the body. She's moved from the car to a van to a cooler to the shelter, up in the ceiling. You name it. And this is what I'm talking about, where I'm like, I don't know how they were able to sleep. I mean, it's horrible. Now, one thing again that the state will outline, because their star witness is Kayla, who again, it's kind of like, how credible is she, right? So this is why they hit home very hard on him, the abuse he inflicted on her, and I have no doubt that he did, okay? I'm not trying to say that I don't believe that at all. I am sure, because it's a very peculiar situation where she is like the missing key to a lot of this stuff because she was witness to it. And there's also the feeling of like, why didn't you do something? Why didn't you stop? Why didn't you go to authorities? And so the answer to this from the state is that she was petrified.
He conditioned Kayla through force and through threats with the purpose of making sure that she would never come in here and tell you what she'd seen, what he did.
And that being said, I'm glad she has at least stepped up and for the sake of harmony and justice, is speaking out. This case is literally up there with Daybell, Letitia of the horror. Again, my heart breaks for Harmony. I also think of those foster parents that had her, who they must have been crushed to learn what happened, And again, it's another frustrating case where all these agencies are contacted, like the system doesn't work. It just seems so many times that the system, and when I say the system, I'm talking like the child protective and this and that and the other and the foster care, all this stuff. It works until it doesn't work, or it doesn't work when you need it to work. Because how many of these cases the kids slip through the cracks and this ends up happening? And on that note too, what it reminds me of, this whole thing with the defense in him, is the Anthony Todd defense. Where, remember, if you followed that, this was the guy who lived in Celebration, Florida, who took his his whole family out, including his wife, the dog, everybody, and then tried to blame it on the wife. And basically, like, he came home and was like, what have you done? I'll protect you. Chris Watts, these same MO of, I'm going to take the fall for the wife so she can protect the family. You know, cannot roll my eyes hard enough. Knowing full well they did it. You know, I'm just like, and this is no different than that. Again, everybody would want a defense, even in the indefensible. I understand, I get this. And again, I can see where, yep, this would make a logical defense for this case of Kayla's lying, she did it. And again, nobody knows what happened except Kayla and Adam. Nobody will ever know. And again, except God bless her, Harmony. So that's it. Like I said, this is a rough one. The next thing that I started watching was the testimony from Kayla. So I'm definitely going to work on a video for that to go over my thoughts and whatnot, and we'll go from there. So let me know if you have watched this, what your thoughts are on it, what you think of the strategy of each of the state of the defense and all that. Do you believe Kayla? That's a huge one I'm curious about. So that's it. If you're still watching, I appreciate it. Roscoe has been my little comfort dog for this video, and he does thank you. He asked that you drop some sofas in the comment section so that we can go down there and hold them just like this on those sofas and dish in the comment section about these cases and others. And until we do go down to the comment section to do so, we'll see y'all soon.